The front of this bottle tells a story in seconds. The back tells a different kind of story. One serving, 240 calories, 65 grams of total sugar, and 130% daily value for added sugars. The question is not whether you are allowed to buy it. The question is, what does the package actually establish before the first sip? Start with the object in the viewer's hand, not a category stereotype. The front is branding. The back is a measurement tool. We will not diagnose a drink or judge a shopper. We will translate this exact US 20-ounce label. The first promise of this channel is deliberately modest. Translate the package before interpreting it. That keeps the opening useful for someone who buys this item often, and for someone who has never noticed the panel. The tension is not that a label is hiding a secret. It is that a familiar package makes our eyes move quickly. Slow the moment down. Identify the country, package size, and variant on screen, because those details decide which numbers belong in the conversation. Then give the viewer the question that carries the rest of the episode. What can this exact package tell us without guessing beyond it? Confirmed evidence for the familiar bottle, an unfamiliar question section. Coca-Cola's US page lists the featured original bottle as 20 fluid ounces, 1 serving, 240 calories, 65 grams total sugars, 65 grams added sugars, and 130% DV for added sugars. Keep that fact attached to the exact package shown, rather than extending it to every item in the aisle. Let the opening breathe for a beat after the question. Recognition is useful only if it leads to a more careful look, not to a pre-written conclusion. A brand name and flavor experience are not nutrient claims. Do not supply a promise that the front never made. The useful work begins where the serving information begins. This is where the front of the pack earns its place in the story, but only as an invitation to inspect. A word, icon, or brand cue can help a shopper notice a category. It cannot silently answer 5 other questions. Show the claim exactly as it appears, then leave a visual gap before the panel. That pause is important. It teaches the viewer to move from a marketing impression to a verifiable field. If the claim is not a regulated nutrition claim, say so plainly rather than inventing a hidden meaning. The practical move is to ask, which line on the back would confirm, narrow, or complicate the impression I got from the front? Confirmed evidence for the claim tab, what is and is not on the front section. Its listed ingredients are carbonated water, high fructose corn syrup, caramel color, phosphoric acid, natural flavors, and caffeine. Use it to narrow the next question. It does not, on its own, settle a shopper's final choice. That movement from impression to field is the small habit worth practicing. It costs seconds and can travel to any adjacent shelf. On this featured 20 fluid ounces US bottle, the company lists 1 serving per container. That matters because the panel's numbers already describe the full bottle. A 12-ounce can is a different package and must be read as its own variant. Serving information changes the scale of every later number, so keep it on screen long enough for the viewer to use it. FDA explains that a serving size reflects what people typically consume. It is not an instruction about how much anyone should eat or drink. That distinction prevents 2 opposite errors: treating the number as a personal rule or dismissing it as meaningless. Ask a concrete household question instead. Am I looking at the amount I will use, a fraction of it, or more than 1 serving? When packages differ, make the comparison fair before calling one figure bigger or smaller. The serving line is the ruler. The rest of the panel is the measurement. Confirmed evidence for the serving tab. 1 bottle, 1 serving section. FDA explains that %DV describes 1 serving's contribution to the daily diet. 5% or less is low and 20% or more is high. The viewer can verify it on the cited source or package, but should not generalize it to a different size or flavor. A clear on-screen ruler, bowl, bottle, or bar makes the arithmetic visible without asking viewers to accept narration on faith. The label lists 65 grams of total sugars and says that all 65 grams are added sugars. FDA says added sugars are included within total sugars. Includes is not a second amount to add. The 130% DV is a scale, not a diagnosis. Now use the nutrition facts panel as a set of separate fields, not a single score. FDA's percent daily value gives a common scale for a nutrient in one serving. Its general guide treats 5% DV or less as low and 20% DV or more as high. That shortcut helps comparison, but it does not turn a package into a personal diagnosis. Put the cited figure beside the exact serving and name the source. If total sugars and added sugars both appear, explain their relationship rather than adding them together. The viewer should leave this section able to point at a number and say what it measures, not simply remember that it sounded large or small. Confirmed evidence for the nutrition tab. Read added sugars without drama section. FDA also states that serving size reflects typical consumption, not a recommendation. Its boundary matters. It reports the named field, not an outcome for an individual person. Use one plain language source card before changing the graphic. The pause gives the claim a traceable home rather than a dramatic sound effect. The ingredient list begins with carbonated water and high fructose corn syrup, followed by color, acid, flavors, and caffeine. Ingredient order describes predominance by weight, but it does not give the recipe, intent, or a complete dose for every ingredient. Ingredient order can answer a narrow and useful question: which listed ingredients appear first by weight? It cannot reveal a proprietary formula, an exact amount for every ingredient, a motive, or a guaranteed outcome. Keep those limits visible. The best visual here is a slow, readable trace across the actual list, paired with a source card and an unknown marker where the label stops. That approach is calmer than ingredient alarmism and more honest than pretending that a short list answers every question. If allergens matter to a household, show the exact allergen statement for the cited variant and remind viewers to check their own package. Confirmed evidence for the Ingredients tab, Sequence, Function, Limit section. Before recording this Ingredients tab, Sequence, Function, Limit section, recheck the exact package, variant, country, and source date on screen. That is the evidence line for this visual. Any broader interpretation should stay explicitly conditional. The visual should reward precision. Zoom into the words that are present and leave blank space around the details the label does not supply. The useful comparison is same serving basis, 20 fluid ounces versus 20 fluid ounces, or the whole package versus the whole package. Do not compare a bottle's full panel to a can's partial amount and call it a product verdict. Context is where a label becomes a decision aid instead of trivia. A whole bottle, a prepared bowl, a bar eaten while traveling, or a product shared across a household can change which comparison is useful. Do not smuggle in a universal recommendation. Instead, show two honest frames, the panel's stated serving and the amount the shopper expects to use. Then compare like with like. A different package size, flavor, or country may use a different label, so facts must travel with their variant and date. The takeaway is a method. Match the amount, identify the question, and let the panel provide evidence rather than a verdict. Confirmed evidence for the Context tab. Compare like with like section. Before recording this Context tab, compare like with like section. Recheck the exact package, variant, country, and source date on screen. It belongs beside the stated serving context, not beside an assumed portion or an imagined use case. Show the comparison as a question answered by the shopper's use, not a contest that declares one package morally superior. For any drink, locate servings per container, decide how much you will actually drink, then read calories, added sugars, and sodium for that amount. The label gives information. Your context supplies the choice. Bring the earlier tabs together now. Claim, serving, nutrition facts, ingredients, and context. Each solved a different problem, which is why one attractive number never closes the case. Revisit the original shopping moment and show a shorter, more confident decision path than the viewer had at the opening. The result is not a ranking and not a promise about health. It is a sentence a shopper can use in real life. I know what this package reports for the amount I am considering, and I know which unanswered questions belong outside the label. That is enough to choose deliberately without turning the aisle into a courtroom. Confirmed evidence for the payoff. A shopper rule section. Before recording this payoff, a shopper rule section, recheck the exact package, variant, country, and source date on screen. Present it as a source-led detail and let the viewer supply their own household context. This synthesis works because each tab kept its own job. The viewer has not been asked to memorize a score, they have been shown a sequence.